I'm sure that you guys have heard about the sudden and tragic passing of rapper Juice WRLD. At the young age of 21, he had literally just turned 21 about a week ago. Now, I'm not coming to you acting like I know everything about this kid. I'm not coming to you as a fan because I was not a fan of his. I didn't listen to his music. It would be disingenuous to act like I knew this kid. But there's a bigger conversation here, definitely, about what is being promoted out here to these young people and what a lot of these young people aspire to be, which is killing them. Now, first things first, my condolences go out to his family. And it pissed me off to see some of the stuff that's been coming out about him. Not to say that it's not true, because the moment this kid passed, all I kept saying is it was the drugs, and I'm just thinking to myself, oh wow. See, I don't follow him. I don't know his music. I don't know this kid's lifestyle. I'm looking at the comments, and a lot of people seem to know it was drugs. Kid hadn't been even cold for 5-6 hours, and everybody seems to know that it was drugs. So apparently Juice WRLD was on a private jet from Cali to Chicago, where he started to convulse, have seizures, and ultimately went into cardiac arrest. They took him to Christ Hospital on the south side. Now, if you know anything about Chicago, there's two hospitals you don't necessarily want to end up at, and that's Christ, and that's Mount Sinai on the west side, okay? Every time I think about those two hospitals, all I think about is death, because a lot of death come out of there. All right. But he was at Midway, so I guess I could see why they would take him to maybe the nearest trauma unit, which would have been Christ. Okay. Now, there's a lot of stuff that came out after this kid's death, like that happened on an airplane, and why he probably more than likely died, which sounds like an accidental overdose to me. But what upsets me about this is that this kid, at the end of the day, has a mother, has a father, has probably siblings, has a family who wasn't even able to process his death before all this stuff started coming out about what happened on that jet. And TMZ was right there front and center, making sure that they put it out there. Again, not to say that none of it's true, but I just think it was tactless and distasteful to do that so quickly after this kid's death. A mother just lost her child. And the first thing people think about is, oh, well, he had this on the airplane. He had this on the airplane. Which, again, those details are really sad in itself. But the fact is that I just hate that that's the first thing people went to and started to sensationalize. All right. Like I say, it's obvious based on the comments that this kid had a drug problem. A lot of people seem to have known he had a drug problem. So maybe it wasn't surprising to a lot of people that he died from drugs, but it still doesn't make it any better for the people that just lost a child. It just doesn't. I want people to give this kid the same kind of reverence or respect that you would have given Mac Miller when he died from what sounds like an overdose of bad pills. Now, let's get into the specifics of what probably took place. Now, this is all speculation because I read it on Chicago Tribune. Basically, they're saying that the authorities got wind that there were drugs on his plane. And according to the newspapers, again, I don't believe everything, but this is what they're saying. This kid swallowed a bunch of Percocet to get rid of the drugs, and that's why he started to convulse and ultimately went into cardiac arrest and ultimately died. When they asked his girlfriend, who was also on the airplane, she said he had a drug problem and he takes Percocet, which is, again, just very, very sad. They had found supposedly some guns on the airplane. They also found some that codeine cough syrup that the kids drink, like lean and all that other stuff, and supposedly some marijuana. Now, it's sad. It's just sad. It's absolutely sad. So when this kid died, I saw a lot of his friends, people also in the rap community, come out and express their condolences. And I want to show you these things from Famous Dex and Trippie Redd, because I want to show you just how bad these kids are out here on this shit. It's pretty bad. All right. And it lets you know that they got to do a better job about what they promote out here in these streets and the drugs that they promote out here in these streets. Go ahead and take a look at this video, y'all. This is really, really disturbing to me. Take a look at Famous Dex.
On Juice WRLD death, because like all my fans know, I just had a seizure at Rich the Kid show, and my seizure was because I was dehydrated, I wasn't sleeping, and I was stressing. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, we losing too many people to this shit, bro. Juice WRLD, Mac Miller, come peep. Like, what the fuck? Bro, like, bro, Juice WRLD looked up to me. That was my fucking brother, bro. I don't want to cry on live, bro, but I'm just want to let y'all know, like, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I'm perfect. But I'm going to take care of myself. I promise.
We ain't doing it no more. Period. If it ain't weed, we ain't doing it no more. And when I say we, I mean us as a group, us as a whole. The whole emo music artists. Like, no drugs.
God damn, this generation is so lost, y'all. I remember a meme I seen ages ago. It said something like, my generation, like NWA, all this stuff, they rapped about selling drugs, and this generation rap about taking drugs. Like, how things have changed. Not to say that either one was great or good, but just the fact that so many of these guys look so bad to be so young because they are drugged out. Look at both of them. They both sitting here talking about their friend, and both high. They both look high as a kite. And Trippie Redd, for instance, I listened to him and I just thought, you sound stupid as hell. You gonna sit here and say you're not gonna do that stuff anymore. You only gonna smoke weed, whatever. But you're not going to you're not gonna do that. You're not gonna do it anymore. But you're gonna still put the shit in your music. Like, huh? Make it make sense. That doesn't even make sense. That sounds dumb as hell. Like, this is the problem. This is the very problem. These kids are out here on these drugs, and they are looking up to these other rappers that used to talk about drinking lean and taking pills and all this other stuff. And look at Future, for instance. Remember how Future, every time Future rapped, he was rapping about taking lean, popping pills, Molly Percocet. And then it came out later when he had some kind of court thing with Sierra that he just rap about that kind of stuff. He don't really do it. And these are the things that these kids are looking up to. And these kids are out here strung out on this shit. I have a problem with that. You know, I get sick of everybody. You know, there's all these like self-righteous people like, oh, stop the marijuana. Don't legalize marijuana. When marijuana is not the least of the issues. I don't think that marijuana is a gateway drug to the worst stuff. The gateway drugs are right in your medicine cabinet right now. That's what's messing up this younger generation. But I do definitely feel like this young man needs to have the same kind of sympathy. All right, Juice WRLD needs to get the same kind of sympathy that people gave Mac Miller. the way they give white kids out here strung out on opioids. Give him the same kind of sympathy. All right. Remember, during the crack epidemic, black people didn't get sympathy for the stuff that they just locked them up. They just called them irresponsible and locked them up. They didn't give them any help with their addictions. But now, white kids get all the sympathy for this opioid addiction that they haven't. And it's a mess. It is messed up out here. These kids are popping these pills. They are rapping about it in their music. And these younger ones think it's cool. And then they go and do it. Look at all these rappers with all the stuff all over. They're high as a kite. And now one of them, and for the life of me, I'll never understand if any of this is true about what happened on that airplane. About Juice WRLD, when the feds were closing in on the jet, he swallowed a bunch of Percocet to get rid of them. Now, I just wish to God that the boy would have just took the charge. I mean, if they coming in and you got all this other stuff on the plane, supposedly all this weed, this gun and stuff like that, he could have just passed it off to one of his bodyguards, one of his boys, and let them take the charge and bail him out. He could have took the charge. I just wish that he wouldn't have taken his life to get rid of the damn drugs, because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like the feds were closing in and this kid swallowed a bunch of Percocet and started to convulse, and subsequently the poor child just passed away. And I'm calling them a poor child because, like I said, white kids get sympathy all the time for the mess that they do and the foolishness that they do with these drugs. So I'm going to give this kid the same kind of sympathy that these white kids would get in a situation like this. It's sad that that's how he had to go out, that he thought it's better to swallow the drugs than to take a charge at that moment. The boy he had the money. He could have bailed himself out, it was just so many different scenarios here, and it's sad that he thought of, let me swallow them, if that is indeed is the case, if that's true. But like I said, all this stuff came out, and the poor child wasn't even dead 24 hours before his family had to hear about all of this stuff. I just wish that they would have given him a little bit of space and a little bit of time to process the fact that their child was dead at the age of 21. All right. And this was also, it looks like, I was looking at some of his lyrics, a kid who kind of knew that he wasn't long for this world because of the kind of stuff that he put out in the universe about, not living past a certain age. So, rest in peace to this kid. I hope that people will stop promoting this kind of nonsense and this kind of drug use and this kind of music. And because you got kids watching you, and these young kids think it's cool to take these pills, and it's hard to get off that shit. Okay? Addiction is an illness. It's an absolute illness. So rest in peace to this young man. And I hope that we can get better in this. Lord help these young folks.